Almost every house has a chimney or some kind of exhaust vent, right? And when you see smoke or steam pouring out, you probably don't think much of it. But really, what you're seeing is energy and your money just floating away into thin air. Today, we're going to look at a concept that wants to flip that idea on its head. It's called the G2 heat trapping system, and it's about reimagining how our homes can not only stay warm, but also clean the air and even generate their own power.
So, where do you even start with something like this? Well, it all begins by rethinking something we completely take for granted: the good old chimney. For hundreds of years, its job was super simple: just get the smoke out. But the G2 system asks a much, much smarter question. Seriously, just think about it for a second. A normal fireplace is all about pushing smoke out of your living room, but in doing that, it's also sending all that amazing, valuable heat straight up the flue and out into the sky. This system starts by asking, what if we could actually grab that escaping energy and put it back to work inside the house? And that one question, that's the spark for this entire journey. You can see on the left where it all started, just a basic idea, a simple sketch for a chimney that could trap heat. But then look at what it becomes on the right. That idea blossoms into this incredibly detailed blueprint for a home's entire energy system. This isn't just about building a better chimney, it's about designing a whole new engine for your home. So, how in the world do you get from a simple chimney to that complex blueprint? Well, the real genius here is in its core design. It's not one big, clunky thing. Instead, it's all about being modular, built from smart, stackable pieces. Yeah, forget about old school brick and mortar. The G2 system is built on a lightweight steel frame, and woven all through it are these copper tubes that work like a radiator, but in reverse. Instead of pushing heat out, their job is to suck the heat right out of the exhaust as it rises. And since each section is its own module, you can literally stack them like Legos to fit any house, any height. That flexibility is a total game changer. And because it's so modular, you get all these really smart design principles. You can customize the height to fit any space. You can add or remove the exhaust units whenever you need. The whole thing sits on a sturdy steel frame. It's got heat-reflecting walls to keep every bit of warmth, and a little low-power fan to keep the air moving perfectly. It's all about making it flexible and super efficient. Okay, so trapping heat is cool, but that's really just the start. The G2 system is designed with these advanced add-on modules that do so much more, basically turning it into a little utility hub for your house. Now, this next module, the J2 condensation module, is where we get to the other big problem with chimneys: all that pollution. Its job isn't just about heat, it's about literally washing the smoke before it ever gets outside. So, this smoke washing thing, it's a pretty clever two-step process. First, the smoke passes by these plates that have static electricity, and they work like a magnet for dust, just pulling particles right out of the air. Then, a superfine mist of water sprays through, which makes any leftover soot and ash really heavy, so it just falls down into a collection tray. The air that finally leaves is way, way cleaner than what went in. All right, cleaning the air is already a huge win, but this is where the G2 system gets, well, kind of mind-blowing. It's designed to generate its own electricity, creating this amazing self-sufficient energy loop. It does this with something called a thermoelectric module. It basically takes that waste heat it's been capturing and turns it directly into electricity. Now look, we're not talking about powering your entire house here, but it's more than enough to run the system's own fans and sensors, so it doesn't need to pull power from the grid. And here's the most important part. If the power ever goes out, that little bit of electricity becomes a lifeline. It could be enough to keep critical medical equipment running or just keep your phone charged. That's real energy independence when you need it most. Okay, so let's take a step back. We've got heat trapping, we've got smoke washing, and we've got power generation. How do all these pieces actually fit together to create one seamless system for an entire home? And here it is. This is the master plan. You can see the heat source, like a rocket stove or something similar, down at the bottom. And from there, the system just branches out, managing heat, water, electricity, and the exhaust, all in one continuous, efficient flow. And this shows off one of the absolute cleverest parts of this whole setup: its dual-path heating system. So the hot smoke gets funneled through pipes that snake through the upper walls, warming them up. At the exact same time, a separate module uses that same heat source to heat up water, which then gets pumped down into an underfloor heating system. It's an incredible way to spread the heat around exactly where you want it: warm feet and warm rooms. So let's just walk through the whole flow from start to finish. 1. It all kicks off with a heat source. 2, that heat is immediately split into two paths for heating. Smoke goes up, hot water goes down. 3, along the way, the thermoelectric module siphons off some heat to make electricity. 4, before the exhaust can escape, it gets a full cleaning in the smoke washing module. And finally, 5, clean air is released. It's a perfect cycle of use, reuse, and filtration.
And what's really forward-thinking is that this design doesn't just stop at one house. If you look closely at the blueprint, you can see it's designed with a potential for shared heating between two houses, like in a semi-detached home. That opens up some really cool possibilities for small, community-level energy systems that are both cheaper and more resilient. So, when you put it all together, what are we really looking at here? Is this just some cool concept, or could it be a real blueprint for how we could be building our homes in the future? All right, let's just recap the big wins here. The G2 system grabs waste heat and makes it useful, maximizing every bit of energy. It cleans up its own mess with the smoke washing module. It gives you that little bit of off-grid power for true self-sufficiency. And because it's modular, it can be customized for a tiny cottage or scaled up to serve a whole neighborhood. And that really brings us to the big question. For the longest time, we've thought of our homes as just consumers of energy, pulling from a distant grid. But what if they could become their own little power plants, clean, efficient, and totally independent? Systems like the G2 are challenging us to think differently, and maybe, just maybe, they're showing us the way to a much smarter and more sustainable future.